Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
One of the biggest medical breakthroughs in this pandemic has been the use of nucleic acid vaccines. Nucleic acid are, of course, ribonucleic acid and deoxyribonucleic acid, which is RNA and DNA respectively. DNA vaccines are also called plasmid vaccines, and at present we do not have any that is approved for human use yet. We have a couple for animals, like against the West Nile virus for horses, but in humans now we of course have the RNA vaccines or the mRNA vaccines, which use a molecule called the mRNA, which is a messenger RNA. The messenger RNA delivers instructions to the cell to produce an antigen. An antigen in this context is any particle that our body recognizes as not belonging to our own biology and recognizes as foreign, so it mounts an immune response against it. The advantage here with mRNA is, of course, that there's no actual part of a virus or a live attenuated virus or a killed virus or whatever present. There are just a set of instructions in the form of the mRNA molecule. But the mRNA stimulates the production of the spike protein inside our own cells, which the immune system recognizes as an antigen. We are familiar with these mRNA vaccines, such as the ones made by Pfizer, of course, and Moderna and CureVac, and a couple of others. But in this video, let's look at something that is even newer on the horizon, and that is the technology of self-amplifying RNA. I'm Sandhya Ramesh, and this is Pure Science. There's some differences between DNA and RNA therapeutics and vaccines. For DNA therapeutics and vaccines, the target is the cell nucleus. But for mRNA therapeutics and vaccines, the target is the cytosol or the cytoplasm. So it's slightly easier as it doesn't require crossing the nuclear membrane. Even if an mRNA does reach the nucleus, it does not integrate into our own genome or alter it in any way. So RNA vaccines are easier and safer as compared to DNA vaccines. So then, we already have these RNA vaccines. Why do we even need a new kind of vaccine when we have efficient mRNA vaccines? Well, mRNA vaccines, of course, have numerous advantages. They're very, very safe. They have no parts of a pathogen. They are easier to make than attenuated vaccines. They can be modified anytime there's a mutation or something that affects vaccine efficacy. This is useful for diseases like influenza, and thus it is also flexible and can be used for various other diseases. And they're also much faster to develop. Obviously, there's always the standing answer that things could always become better and more efficient. But additionally, there are also other factors like new emerging drug-resistant bacteria, newer spillover events and newer diseases, the changing population dynamics and demographics and structure, making existing vaccines more safer and more cost-effective and more effective and more scalable, improving storage, and so many more reasons. With RNA vaccines specifically, the mRNA molecule is very volatile and needs to be protected when in storage and also during delivery into the cytoplasm to prevent it from degradation. Once it enters the cytoplasm, it creates the spike protein and then the immune system attacks it. A lot of these problems are solved with self-amplifying RNA. Self-amplifying RNA, shortened to saRNA, is actually much more advantageous than just mRNA. Once it enters the cytoplasm, self-amplifying RNA, as the name suggests, can make exponential copies of itself using an enzyme that it produces. Not only does it produce or encode the spike protein as the mRNA vaccines do, it also encodes an enzyme or a polymerase. This polymerase ends up copying the RNA in the cytoplasm, and this process goes on repeating. So then all of those duplicated RNA results in new protein. So there is a higher protein expression. This is the spike protein. As a result, a very low dose of the vaccine is required to produce a much higher protein expression and thus produce a high immune response. What this does is lower the dose that we need for the vaccines. So we need a very small amount of the self-amplifying RNA to scale up vaccine production and rollout. One of the institutes that is doing leading work on this is the Imperial College London. They have developed a polymer called Payball, which they describe as a bioreducible cationic polymer for delivery of self-amplifying RNA into the cytoplasm. Dr. Anna Blackney of Imperial College has a very nice presentation on the work her lab is doing. That video was very helpful for research for this video as well, so do check it out. It will be linked in the description below. In that, she also outlines the timeline of how quickly they developed the vaccine prototypes and how quickly they started their trials. The virus was sequenced for the first time on the 10th of January. Their team got access to the sequence on the 20th of January of last year. And then within a month, they were able to confirm self-amplifying RNA expression and they started immunogenicity studies in mice. So this speed with which we can develop the vaccine is one of the biggest advantages, especially when coupled with the ultra low dosage that is required. The team had their human clinical trials as well from September to January of 2021. And they finished their phase 1 first in human studies. They tested their vaccine candidate in their Imperial College research facility on 192 participants between the ages of 18 and 45. These participants received 6 different dosages of the self-amplifying RNA vaccine. All of them got 2 doses 4 weeks apart. This trial did generate a mixed response in the participants. Some did not make a good immune response, but a majority did have antibodies. There were barely any side effects, with just muscle pain being the most common one. And there were no allergic reactions that were recorded. This was a phase 1 trial, which is 192 participants. But the level of antibody response was not high enough. It was not as high as any of the approved vaccine candidates so far. That said, this is not a big problem because this is super easy to tweak. That's the whole USP of this technology. So that's what the team is doing now. They are attempting to improve the immune response. Their phase 1 data is out as a preprint currently on Lancet, and at the moment it is under peer review. The team is working on modifying the tech to produce a much more robust response at a much low dose level. A new trial has begun on the 2nd generation modified vaccine, which is designed to enhance the level of RNA expression. Now the important part. If this is being developed so quickly already, and there are already other existing vaccine candidates that countries have purchased and also rolled out, where does a brand new technology fit in? Of course, it will be useful to increase the number of vaccine doses globally, but the team at Imperial College also thinks that their vaccine will play an important role in combating new and rising variants because they can be tweaked so quickly and scaled up quickly and also deployed quickly because of their low dose requirements. Many countries have also started to mix vaccines and trial them. Angela Merkel famously has taken 2 doses of 2 different vaccines. Some of us personally might end up doing the same thing, if not now, maybe sometime in the future. So these self-amplifying RNA vaccines could act as great booster shots. It is also super useful for the foreseeable future. Since the platform is so flexible, it can be tweaked for a wide range of diseases and viruses, including flu and Ebola. It can also be used in the research into the development of HIV and cancer vaccines. And in an interview recently, the researcher who is leading this development and research in Imperial College, Dr. Robin Shattuck, said that it could be used for protein replacement therapy, which is, as the name suggests, a treatment that replaces a protein that our body fails to produce in adequate amounts. Protein replacement therapy is tried for treating diseases like progeria or the Hutchinson-Gilford syndrome, which causes premature aging. All in all, it is clearly looking like RNA vaccines are going to start taking over now. They have literally just started to be used and they're already developing quite rapidly. A lot of the RNA vaccines now are also slowly evolving to become less temperature dependent And going forward over the next few decades, we can start to see mRNA and self-amplifying RNA therapeutics and vaccines becoming increasingly commonplace in public health.